There are a couple different ways I use a coffee sample roaster in my coffee roasting business, but you're going to stick around to the end to see them both. So the first way I use the sample roaster is to decide how I want to roast a new coffee that I recently received into my shop. So what I'll do is go through and sample roast coffee 3 different ways. So what I'll do is I use the Ikawa sample roaster to help me decide how I want to roast a new coffee that I got in. I'll roast the coffee the exact same way 3 different times, making very small incremental changes to the development time in the coffee. After all the coffees are done being roasted, I'll let them rest for a day, and then I'll do a cupping protocol on those. But a little bit more on that later. So after every roast is completed, the roaster gives me a unique identifier for every coffee. I then take that unique identity tag and I put that in the bin along with the coffee. That way when I'm ready to cup, I cup the coffees blind. In other words, I don't know what any of them are, so I'm not influenced on what I think I want to be my favorite one. Only the taste is what makes me decide on what I want. I do have a generic coffee roasting profile I use for all my later roasts. What I do is I just roast each one a little bit different with a slightly different end time and end temperature. And then I'll sample each one of those and pick out my favorite one of those. So the other reason why you might use a sample roaster rather than using your regular roaster is when you're still trying to pick out your profile, it's a lot easier to just sample roast 300 gram batches or 350 gram batches rather than running through 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds on your roaster. Because then you'd be burning through a lot of coffee, and that's just not an economical way to do that when you're just trying to figure out what your strategy is for that particular coffee. Once I've tried the 3 different coffees the way I wanted to roast them, and I pick out my favorite, I'll grind the coffee up really fine and use the color meter to measure the color of the coffee. The color meter is really just a refractometer, and it's just bouncing light down to it and measuring the amount of light that bounces back. And it assigns a number based on the Agtron scale. I don't want to get too much into the weeds on the Agtron scale right now. It's just a number that's assigned to it. The number doesn't necessarily matter. As long as you're hitting that number, that's what's important. The color or the Agtron color of a coffee is 85% of what the coffee is going to taste like. So once I know what that number is, then I can go ahead and use that color into my production roast. So I'll try to replicate that on the roaster and just try to get close to that number as close as possible. Generally I can hit it within a point or two of the Agtron scale. And this is just from knowing my roaster and knowing what it can do. Then I usually just need to make a few tweaks here and there to the roast in order to get that to where I want it to be. But that gets me 85% of the way there, and I'm usually pretty happy with just a few adjustments once I get there. The second way I use a sample roaster is to evaluate different coffees. When I get in samples of many different green coffees, I want them all roasted the exact same way, so they're all on equal footing when I'm trying to test them out. So what I'll do is roast them all exactly the same, let them rest for a day or two, and then we cup them after that. This is one of the coffees I get in from my direct trade partners in Colombia, and I have 5 different samples of our direct trade coffee, and these are honey processed coffee. So I want to give these a shot and see what I think of them. This is a new process they're doing. Using the Ikawa in this process was a game changer for me. It really revolutionized how I did things. Then I was confident all the coffees were roasted exactly the same way, and I could make a confident decision in what I was purchasing going forward. Once these 5 coffees are all roasted up, I'll let them rest for a day or two, and then I'll cup them and see which one's my favorite and make a decision from there. Just 2 left. One thing about sample roasting is it takes almost as long as a regular production day, except just teeny tiny amounts. Last one going in the roaster right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this overall insight into how we sample roast coffee and how we decide which coffees we want to have in our roastery. It was really a lot of fun putting this video together. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If this is something you like and you want to see more of, or you have any questions about anything I talked about in this video, comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Also, as always, Please like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. It also just motivates me to keep on going and making more videos, and that's something I definitely want to do going forward. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great day. Peace.